scholarships like Cozy and just different things like that. But I'm always open to help any student, and I always want to try and help where I wish I would have had support when I was in school. So starting off, prepping for your career, I didn't have a better name for this. I wish I had something a little more catchy. But what we're going to talk about today is I want to talk about specifically, I want to change the way we think about a career. I think traditionally we look at high school, you graduate, go to college, graduate, get a job. And then it's very linear, it's very straightforward. But I want to look at some of the career statistics and see which individuals are more successful getting jobs after they graduate, what goes into that. We're going to talk about the skills that employers value, how you can develop those skills where you're currently a college student, and then really in the end, starting that job search right now. What are you going to do to start looking for your dream job while you're already here in school? So what I want to start with, this is an interactive part. If you're able to participate, if you have a phone or you can do it online, you'll see right here, this is a poll that you have access to. If you have your phone, you can type in, you can text to the number 22333, text Adrian Mendoza 734, and it'll give you the option to answer this question. If you're on your computer, type in pollev.com/Adrian Mendoza 734, and it'll give you an option to respond to this question. So I would like to see, what are your thoughts on what's the average time it takes for a college student, college graduate to get their first job? If you have difficulties logging on, let me know. So somebody says 3 to 6 months. And it's been a long time since I've seen the statistics, so I think I remember what the average time is, but I'm not 100% sure. And after we finish this question, there'll be one more interactive part. So just keep your phone or your computer logged onto whatever screen. I'll give you like another minute to try and log on to see.
Mine isn't working. Is it one word or two words that I'm supposed to text?
I think it's all one word. Adrian Mendoza 734 to the number 22333.
Let's try again. Thank you.
Okay. All right, 6 to 9 months. Give about 30 more seconds just to, if anyone else would like to log on and give it a try. Okay, I will show the answer. There will be another portion next time. Perfect, thank you. So the average time, now this does change year to year, but last time I checked it's 3 to 6 months. But the reason I think this is very important is because depending on how long it takes you to find a job related to your degree, a job that is, I guess, quote, or like professional or yeah, just related to the bachelor's degree that you've received, the higher wage you will get in your first career. And then 10 years down the road, individuals that took longer, like 9 to 12 months versus 1 to 3 months, there's still a huge gap in earning power for those individuals. So if you're able to get a job in your field right after you graduate, the statistics show that you're more likely to get a higher paying job. And then 10 years down the road, you're going to be paid higher than your peers that graduated and took longer, maybe got jobs that were not related to their degree for a couple months, and then were able to transition into a job related to that. So this is very important to start the process much earlier to see where you want to go, because it's related to your pay. And also there's statistics on job satisfaction. So next thing I want to move into is the same. You should, if you were able to successfully answer the first question, I want to ask this of you. What are the top skills that employers are looking for? You're currently getting your degree right now. When you graduate, what do the top employers say um, they want from people? What are the skills? You can put whatever words you think and just type them in there and they'll pop into the screen. Critical thinking, technology, those are great ones. Dance, communication, and you can type more as well too if you think of other ones. Collaboration, communication, thinking, technology, critical. I wonder what the dance was, or kind of what the thought process was behind that one. Strong service I'm seeing here. So these are all really great ones. And so moving into the next one, these what I got this from is it's called NACE, the National Academic or yeah, National Association for College and Education. So they get employers and they get colleges around the country to do surveys and figure out what are the things they want from graduates. And so there we go, National Associations of Colleges and Employers. So critical thinking, that was something on there. Oral and written communication. So being able to write emails, being able to talk or being able to communicate very clearly. Collaboration, I saw that one as well. You definitely have to work with a lot of different teams and a lot of the work that you do. Technology, that was something in there as well. We're moving towards a very technological age. We have been for a long time. And then the pandemic has just further shown how much we are today requiring technology as ways of learning and communicating and doing our work. Leadership, and this can be defined in a lot of different ways, but that is something that comes up quite a bit. They want individuals who can be leaders, even if they don't have the title as a leader. Work ethic, just somebody who can. Now, this one too, I think, is kind of interesting because it can be defined in a lot of different ways. But I think when they're describing this, they want individuals who can take on tasks, take on more roles that are maybe outside of just the specific written requirements that the position asks for. And then career management. Um, so that's something like understanding where your career is going to go, how you can manage it, and how you'll understand where your career trajectory is going. This one is something that I did not even look at or think about until very later on in my career. And as I do more research to try and inform students about developing a career, understanding, it's something that I myself want to develop and learn about more and more. And then global fluency, again with the technology, it is we are more connected across international lines and working with individuals across different countries. So I think that global fluency is something that's unique in you as well. So for developing your skills. So how would we develop the skills? How can you, as a student right now, develop these? So, looking at some of the research that Gallup shows, well, before we even go into that, we're moving pretty quickly. I would like to open it up if you feel comfortable sharing what are some of the things you can do as a student, just open thoughts to develop some of these skills. So, I'm going to go back to the list. And if you feel comfortable, please unmute yourself and talk about what are you going to do, what can you do, or what can you think about that will develop your oral written communication skills, collaboration, or any of these on this list. I think I see here, Jackie, is this take a class, ask for feedback? Is that for the previous question or is this for this one? Like how to develop these employee desired skills?
Sorry, I was having trouble there unmuted. But yeah, it was for this one, the one that you did us.
Okay. And I could see how talking in class could definitely work on collaboration skills. That's something, but that's something that you have to do as a student yourself. A lot of classes or some classes can be structured that you just go, you get the information, you get assignments, you come back. But if you're asking for feedback, if you're talking to classes, you're fostering a sense of collaboration and taking ownership of your education and skills that you're developing. So I think that these things right here, this list is important to look at because if you look at the list, you're here to get a college education, a credential, a bachelor's degree. But what in our degree plans, we all have different degree plans when we're here. What are the things that in your classes, in your syllabus, say you're going to develop leadership skills, you're going to be taught technology while you're in this class. Maybe you have to now during the pandemic, but I don't know if it was something that was readily embedded into your curriculum and your courses from class to class. So as you're moving to get your degree, what of these skills right here are embedded into the work that you're doing? So I would say it might be good to think of these are skills we possibly have to develop outside of the classroom as we do that. And then I see in here, somebody put in, Julie put internships, volunteering, group projects. Those are definitely great ways to do that, that also are not always readily embedded into the courses that you're taking. So first one is definitely internships. So in polls and research that Gallup has done, students that have done internships, there's like 6 factors that if, yes, Sam has a question.
Well, I just wanted to invite Georgina to share because I thought I saw you unmute to say something.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So I was going to throw out, as far as the communication skills, just really doing like mock practices of interviews, doing really getting engaged in, well, since Adrian had pointed out, what helps us with communication skills as far as the classroom setting. Presentations, so during presentations, you have to kind of structure your PowerPoint or your speech to communicate your point or what you're trying to speak on, effectively for your class. And then for technology, a lot of times we, towards the beginning of our schooling, are taught how to use the research databases, how to look into different programs using websites or utilizing, game settings like the Kahoot. Most recently, I was doing that for my Japanese class where we were creating games to try to teach other students how to do kanji. So using technology that way.
Very nice. Yes, thank you. I definitely agree. And thank you, Sam, for stopping me there. I did not catch that, but yes, please feel free. If you have a thought to share, I welcome it, and I want this to be as interactive as possible. So thank you for those. Those were very good suggestions and things that are hopefully embedded into a lot more courses that allow you to work with technology, to be collaborative and do those sort of things. So yes, those were great. Thank you. So the first one here too was what we had already mentioned, internships, extracurricular activities. So these things I would say like joining a student organization, a student group. There's a ton of student groups on with MSU Denver, and those are things that you can choice into. So I think I had a student that was pre-law, and we looked up, there's a pre-law society here at MSU Denver. So whatever your interests are, there is a potential to have a student organization that you can participate in that is outside of the classroom that will help you collaborate, learn more about what you're interested in going into, and just a great resource for you to help develop leadership skills and learn more with people that share those interests for you. So that's definitely a great option. Project management. So that is kind of like you mentioned, group projects. You get put into a group in class. I think remember growing up in high school and in college, when I talk to most individuals, they say I hate group projects because when they do, everybody just sits around. They don't know how to take the lead, don't know how to divvy up like portions of the project. But when I think about a lot of the work that I have to do today, it is creating a project, working and collaborating with individuals, and figuring out who's going to take responsibility of what and deliver on what's expected of them. So I would say, even though those things might not be comfortable, just to like embrace them and take them as a learning experience. The type of work you'll probably do in the future will include this type of collaboration with other individuals. So learning and leaning into the discomfort to try and develop these skills so that you feel very confident when you have to do these in whatever setting you move into. Mentorship. This one is something I've been learning more about that I think is huge. Um, to find a mentor, whether that's a professor or somebody that does academic support on campus, somebody that can help guide you and share their personal experience. So a huge reason that I do this is because I didn't feel like I had somebody, so maybe in my junior or senior year of college, to say, hey, you're good at this type of work, or what do you want to do after you graduate? And it took so many years of school for another professor or somebody to ask me that. And it made a huge difference in what I was going to do next. It was like, it made me think what's available to me, what's the potential, and having those conversations with a mentor, asking, well, I'm not sure, what did you do? What are some potentials? What are some possibilities? That conversation can be hugely helpful and just help develop your thinking, help you explore different areas, and seeking mentorship is a huge thing. So that can be even with peers, or it can be with professionals that you have around you. If you're in a class that you enjoy and you love going to, you love the way the professor gives information, or just the way they are, I would I would challenge you to reach out to them and say, hey, I really love this class. I'm interested to know more about these topics, these subjects, what is available to me if I go down this route. And I think you would be surprised how uh, willing most professionals are to just give you their time. And you're like, yes, I would love to work with you and show you things and introduce you to different areas and ideas and things like that. So that moves perfectly into the next one. I forgot that that was the next slide. So interacting with professors. These are the ones that have the information, they're giving it to you. Hopefully they have a lot of wealth of knowledge of the types of fields of work you can go into with the degrees that you're pursuing. So as you get further into your degrees, you take your upper level courses, start to interact with your professors, ask those questions. What's coming up next? What are some possibilities? What are some options? Those are things that are definitely open to you. And so those are the main things. There are definitely other ones. It's not all encompassing, but those are some of the main ones that I'd come across over and over again that I would say are not always readily embedded into your courses. So looking at that and talking about them, what I would like to do next is spend just a few minutes thinking about, now that you look at these, how can you think about what are the steps you can take to embed them into the education that you're having right now? Maybe it's not this semester, maybe it's the future semester, but what I want to do is I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and then I would like to ask for some volunteers to share how they can possibly incorporate this with your personal degree, or just, yeah, how are you going to do this semester and moving forward. And I'll move back to the previous slide so we can look at that and talk about what you want to do. So 5 minutes, and then I'll ask for sharing.
One more time, Adrian, you're wanting us to think about what can we do to develop the skills that are listed on this slide?
Yeah, so what
Okay.
action steps are you willing to take? If it's not maybe an internship today or this semester, maybe it's in future semesters. What can you do to find a mentor? Maybe interact with professors.
Okay.
What are the things that you can do? And it maybe doesn't even have to be on this list.
Mhm.
Maybe you go back and look at these critical skills, but
Mhm.
what can we do after thinking about these skills, or the highly valued skills that employers want after you graduate?
Mhm.
These are some of the ways that you can do it. What can you do? Take 5 minutes to think of today in my degree, where I am in my progress towards my degree. What can I do to develop some of these skills, or start to develop them?
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
And even if someone says it's not registered, I still recommend reaching out to them and talking to the last known registered to find out maybe they haven't quite registered their organization yet, but they're still meeting. So still take a look and see what's interesting to you.
Then I think it's not very difficult to start your own organization. I don't know the specific processes, but if it's something you're interested in and you have a passion for it, you can start your own organization. Give about 1 more minute and then I'll ask for people to share. And if you don't want to unmute yourself, we can share in the chat and just kind of discuss it from there. Great. So I will ask if anybody feels comfortable unmuting and sharing, and also we're just sharing in the chat. So Sam just put her idea would be finding a mentor, someone you admired at MSU. I think that is a phenomenal suggestion, and I know it can be intimidating if you think somebody like you admire somebody, but I would say you would be shocked. We are here to do this work because we value having you around. We want to develop you as students. So I would encourage you to always ask, and even if it's just starting with a simple email of, "Hey, I would love to talk about what your career path has been like." Something, an open question like that, that is non-committal. I think you would be surprised how quickly people would just jump on the opportunity to share their story with you and to help you down your path of wherever you want to go. I think that extracurricular activities are huge. That's not something I ever thought of or knew when I was a student. So joining groups of like-minded individuals that have the same interest as you would be huge. Mentorships is something that I continue to read about as I read through the research of a career and personal development. Yes, Sam.
Have another idea and maybe just asking for more responsibility at your current job. And that way you could practice some of I forgot all the things that were on the previous slide, but that teamwork or like management or communication or something like that, you could maybe ask your supervisor if you could do something in addition to what you're currently doing to try to take on more of a leadership role.
Absolutely, and I think like the program Sam has, the like having her leaders in there too. I would say after seeing a student in her program for a whole semester, I bet if you ask them what they learned and what they developed, the amount of skills on this, like leadership, work ethic, having to collaborate and figure things out on their own, stepping out and taking on those type of roles and finding those type of positions here on campus has been proven in research to just develop those skills outside of the classroom that are going to make you highly employable and very confident in the work you do. It can be very nerve-wracking at first to ask for responsibility or step into a role where you may not know what's required or the expectations, but hopefully everything I've seen at MSU is they're safe spaces here. The professionals here are wanting to bring you into it to develop these skills. So this is the safe place to make mistakes. And sure, Sam.
Sorry, finish your thought, and then
Yeah.
you made me think of another idea.
Yeah. These are the safe places to make those mistakes. And when you have somebody who's invested in developing you as a professional, then that is, it's to seek out these opportunities may be difficult at first, but I think you'll find when you participate in them, you'll grow immensely in a semester or a year. So, did you want to add something, Sam?
Sorry, my internet messed up for a second. Yeah, I was just thinking about like more tips for you all, because I think developing these skills can be hard. And I was just trying to think of like stuff I've done or things that I thought were cool that students have told me that they've done. And another idea that popped in my mind is for students that don't have a lot of time, because I feel like that's the biggest thing a lot of students tell me at MSU is like, I'm working a lot and so I don't have time to get involved with different stuff. And so even if you made time to attend like an event like this, like if it was in person and you volunteered to like help with setup, like setting up tables or something like that, it's still something you could add to your resume and that you could talk about as a form of leadership, because you went and asked if you could help to set up these tables and you helped with like an event management process. I don't know, you could just talk about some things with just volunteering to help with an event. And then the other thing, I was going back to having mentors, and one of the staff members that we had last year, she actually like researched a company that she would really want to work for and looked into like the people that worked there, and she actually interned with them this summer. But that's kind of how she found like a mentor within the organization and stuff, which I thought was super cool and a really good idea. So if there's not someone on campus that you feel like could be a good mentor to help you with some of these skills, talking to someone from an organization that you could see yourself at could also be really helpful. And then, like I said, she got an internship there, which I don't know if she asked for it or if they were already hiring or how that process went, but it was a pretty cool thing.
And what Sam just mentioned is what I'm going to talk about. We're going to finish with is finding your career. So traditionally, like I said before, it's high school, college, go find a job, or go look for vacant positions. And which Sam just mentioned, the student did is what I've read and termed as, I'm sure there's different terms for it, but it's called the parachute approach, where you go headhunt the organization you want to work for instead of waiting to find open positions. So that is a great tactic and something that we're going to talk about a little bit later. And I think is really good that the student did that and reached out to them, and that it worked out very favorably for them. So yeah, definitely it is never too early to start developing those skills. And every university has career services and things that you can do. So if you want help finding internships, we have the C2 Hub, and they help you with developing your resume, and they have a lot of different workshops with interview prep and things like that. So it is something that I hope that this presentation and then just other individuals and professionals on the campus continue to tell you that going and interacting with the C2 Hub is not something you do your senior year. It's something that you start to develop, and you start to interact with them and learn different things all throughout your education so that you can be very prepared and extremely hireable whenever you finish your degree. So now going into finding your dream job. So like Sam just mentioned, that example of the student is a really great example of the way it should be done. You're looking at the traditional way. People tend to look for vacancies. They use Indeed or Monster or whatever the platforms are, or back in the day with the newspaper in the back looking for vacancies, things like that. Then you sell yourself, you send your resume in, they get put in a stack of hundreds or thousands of other applicants, and hopefully yours stands out against everybody else's. You wait, traditionally you're waiting for the opening. That goes back to just looking Maybe you like an organization, but they don't have a position, so you're just waiting, hoping they will. And then maybe at the end of the interview, if you get that far, if they've separated your resume, you ask them what are the next steps, hoping that you will be selected for the next step in the process. Whereas I'm getting a lot of this information from a book called What Color Is Your Parachute? It's changing the way that it goes. So going back to the traditional approach, some of the statistics show that it works up to 4% of the time. There's so many people looking for jobs that this is not the way that tends to be the most successful. So this way you look at what is your dream job? You're going to school for a degree, you have very specific interests. So start researching with the information, with the knowledge I'm gathering right now, what can I do with it when I graduate, and what will that job look like that will allow me to be happy to use the things and the skills and knowledge I've learned whenever I graduate. So you do your homework on organizations, you figure out with this degree, you ask your professors, what type of job is associated with this type of degree, things like that. You start, then you find, once you find that organization, maybe you start to do research on LinkedIn and you say, okay, with this degree, how do I find, there's search options that help you look for professionals with your degree. Then you start to narrow it down to corporations, organizations, and then right now you're in a unique position as a student to reach out and be like, hey, I'm curious about how you got to where you are. Can you tell me a little bit about your position, how you got there, things like that? And this is what is termed as the bridge person. So once you get that information, you ask them about their job, how they got there, you start to cultivate this relationship, you're networking, and then hopefully when a vacancy opens up, you send your resume in, you tell your bridge person that that you're interested, you submitted your application, and now instead of getting your application put on a pile of 100 to 1,000, they separate it and move it to the side because they have somebody to speak to you, like then say, I know this individual, I've been speaking with them, they're very interested, and now there's a potential for your application to get moved over to the smaller pile to get more of a look and more consideration than maybe had it just been sent in without knowing somebody in the organization. And then hopefully when you get the interview, you've already done your homework on the organization. You already know somebody there, you know your values fit. So when you're finishing with the interview, it isn't what are the next steps, it's I feel that I could be an asset to this organization, the values match. I really believe that this would be a great partnership. How can we, or like closing to see like how can I make sure that this works out instead of asking what's going to happen, closing to say that you need me in this organization just as much as I want to be here. And so it's changing the perspective of how you get a job and look for a job. And so what I was speaking about earlier, so one of the hardest things of this whole step is like finding and cultivating that relationship. And I would say right now as a student, this is the easiest time to do it. So if you are a professional and you're reaching out to somebody in another organization, not knowing who they are, they may pretty easily and quickly say, like, you know, this person wants to get to meet me because they want a job here. They want to get to know the organization. As a student, you have a, I guess, less threatening position to say they're just interested. I want to bring them to into this organization. So that's something I would say as a student right now, you have leverage as a student to reach out to individuals like through LinkedIn and doing this cold call message. So yes, Sam. Or Julie, did you have something there? Absolutely. Yeah. That's that type of research that we're talking about. That is great. That you have taken, maybe you don't have the skills, all the skills they require right now, but it gives you an idea of how to develop what they want, so that you can make sure you're checking all the boxes and you look very desirable as an employee because you've researched it, you can speak to that, and you've developed those. And I'm sure too, even if you speak to when you get an interview, I noticed that these are the things this organization values, so I've taken steps to develop these skills so that I can be better prepared for these positions. And I think that speaks to a lot about how prepared you are and how willing you are to do the work and would make you stand out against other candidates. So I think that's a great example of doing research to find your dream job and to take steps to make sure you are noticeable to these jobs that you want to have. And so you've done the research too. I think that's, and then I want to give you ideas of how to do this because this seems like the most intimidating part to me is to make a cold call or a message. So the last thing I want to leave you with is a little exercise that I'll let you do yourself. Is to do a message. Maybe you've done the research, you've found the organization, and now you're going to reach out to somebody who you think has a job that you would want to have one day. So you're going to craft a message. You want to be concise, you want to be casual, avoid text, use their name, and then ask. So that is going to look like, I'll have an example on the next. Be concise because I think as students, you'll realize right now you're getting a ton of emails from everybody all the time. So it's pretty easy once you see a lot of text, if it isn't formatted in a good way, or if you just see paragraph after paragraph, you may skim just for the most vital information and miss a lot. So you want to be concise. Then you want to be casual just to, it sends a more opening, I can't think of the word, but it's an easier way to introduce yourself. Instead of being formal, you're being open, you're a student that's curious, and you're more likely to get a response back. Like I said, avoid a lot of text because there is a lot of research on just presentations and emails and things like that. When we see a ton of words on the screen, it can be easy for us to get cognitively overloaded. So we want to be concise and to the point. Use their name, that goes to being casual, and there's research that shows that if you use people's names even in conversation, it sets off positive feelings in them, and there's just more of a positive interaction. And then in the end, have an ask. So ask to meet, do you want to know more about the position, or you just want to know about them? So have an ask in there. So an example would be here. This is one that I wrote. Hey, Shavi, I've been researching your organization. I would like to work with the organization after I graduate. I like the mission and statement. They match my interests and values. Your role is one that I hope to have in the future. Would you be open to sharing your experience to offer advice to a recent college grad? Thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing from you. So it's very concise. I have done research on your organization. I know what your position is. I hope to be in your position one day. How did you get there? Would you be willing to talk to me and tell me this one day? I look forward to speaking with you. So this is quick, concise, and has a very clear ask. So are there any questions about this message, or just any questions at this point at all? Yes, Sam.
I don't see any questions in the chat, but a comment I was going to make about the idea of it being casual. Like this sounds very casual, like you weren't asking the person to do like too much. It's just, can we talk? And I think that's kind of a more casual approach. And I think that's nice. And it's kind of flattering because one time someone did this to me and I was like, ooh, like, you know about me? You want to talk with me? Of course I'll meet with you. And I feel like people are just more willing to have a conversation. And it's like, oh yeah, if I'm just having a conversation, then great. You know, you're not asking me for a job specifically. I feel like this in entry is a lot more easy for the person to want to help out.
Absolutely. And then, like I was saying, as a student or a recent grad, this probably seems a lot less calculated than maybe somebody who has a job or has been working in a field for a couple of years. Then maybe I reach out to a different university and I have years of experience, or and then I reach out to somebody asking about their position, they're more likely going to think, well, this person wants to get to know me because they want to be in this organization, which is not a bad thing. It's just, as a student, it seems like there's less intention there. And this is a part of networking. It's something that I had to learn about. I always saw networking as transactional, as you're asking for something from somebody without, it just didn't have the right connotation for me. So looking at it in this way, you just want information, you're seeking it out, you're interested, and you have an ask, but it's not very non-committal. You're not asking for too much. So I would say, if you can think about the job that you want, I would I would say just practice this for like the next 3 minutes writing. So if your job is, for whatever your degree is right now, writing a sample email like this for you to keep in the future for yourself, so that way when you do your research and you're ready to make that, like reach out for that message, that you have something to go back to remember. So I would say I'm going to give you 3 minutes to just craft your own, and then we'll move on from there, see if there's any final questions. Okay, so I'm not going to ask anybody to share anything. I just wanted you to practice this, because when I talk to other students, even if it's just talking to professors for the first time, this can be one of the most intimidating things to do. So kind of scripting it out and writing it, I think is helpful in building confidence, and a really good way. If it's in writing too, it's low commitment, less stress than if you're probably doing it in person. So I would always suggest trying this first. It may help build that confidence with actually doing the ask. So that is the end of the like actual information I have. If there's any questions you have about any of the PowerPoint, any personal experiences you have, or even if like you want to ask what my experience with this is, or anything like that, feel free. And then I would ask you to please fill this survey out. This is personally for me. I always like to grow whenever I'm presenting. So this is just really what you felt like, how you felt about the content, my presentation style, and things like that. Yes. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of good ways. I know that there are, so LinkedIn, I have to refamiliarize myself with that, but I think that there's if you just, the search bar is very dynamic. You can just put in a degree or a title or a company, and then it'll give you options of what similar organizations look like, what other professionals look like with this degree. And then there's also, I know that the C2 Hub has professionals that you can set appointments with that can help you with that search process. So I would say it's just finding time to do some exploration. Like you said, you had found some positions yourself, and some did some research on what those applications look like, what the requirements were, and you can start looking at the common language that they use in the field that you're trying to enter into. And so there's maybe terms that I wouldn't know for like cybersecurity. They might start using terms that are very unique in the jargon that they use. So if I start typing that into Google searches or into LinkedIn, you start to learn the language that they use in that specific field, or you start to reach out to your professors that are in the degrees that you're in and saying, so with this degree, what are the different potentials? What do the different organizations look like? What are some of the benefits, positives? What are the things I want to look for in that? So, and then right here in the comments, so like having a LinkedIn profile, having a brand, so you can put things out there where individuals start to reach out to you. And so C2 Hub again has an internship and job database. I think that is really good. So they have different information and you can make appointments with them so that they can help you with that search process. But I think what I've found is like doing the searches on LinkedIn, finding the language, starting to link different professionals with degrees with companies, and you'll start to see common names pop up and common degrees pop up. Any other questions? And feel free, Julie, if I didn't answer your full question, to jump back in and clarify. One thing Sam, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask you. Well, you go ahead and then I'll ask.
Okay. One thing I would say that I've learned, and I've been working for more than like 6 years now, is focusing on my career development. I think that in a lot of the organizations I've worked in, maybe 5 different places, there wasn't a lot of professional development and career development. So it's something that I'm having to learn myself and figure out what that looks like. How do I develop myself as a professional? What are the next steps? And so once you get into the career that you want, it's not enough to just stay there and start. It's good to develop your skills in that position, but then start thinking long term. What are the skills I need to move into what I want to do next? And then once you're in your career, some of those same things are valid, especially the mentorship. So find a mentor that's been working at that organization 5 to 10 years. Say, what career trajectory did it take to get here? What different positions, professional development did you do? And then that way you can continue to develop yourself as a professional. And I think you'll realize that it pretty quickly you'll distinguish yourself from other people that just start working that are just content to stay in their position, or maybe just haven't put the thought into what career development looks like. Sure, absolutely. Yes, and I do not have the specific name about that. So, Selena, could you jump in? I know that I've heard the program. I kind of remember. Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy to. Yeah, it's called Earn and Learn. Unfortunately, we don't have the funding for it this school year, but it is something that we are trying to get and secure going into future academic years. But yeah, our goal is to give you a salary while you're doing this unpaid internship. So just be on the lookout for any information. Again, it comes out of the Classroom to Career Hub. So frequently check that site because again, we're working hard on securing funding so students can get paid for what they're doing.
And are there other avenues or techniques or strategies when you're looking for an internship to leverage or ask for that, even if it's some type of compensation?
I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? I do know that work study, we're currently, or I should say, I'm currently trying to look into how to leverage that as well. Work study does cover a portion of salary. So depending on if you want to work for a for-profit or a nonprofit, there's different percentages that work study will cover for that. So that will at least maybe get you something, get you some type of salary. So yeah, again, I would reach out to the Classroom to Career Hub. We're happy to kind of figure out how we can help with that process and figure some things out. So don't be shy to reach out to us.
Thank you. And Sam, you said you were going to ask another question.
I think you actually answered my question. Yeah.
Any other?
Yeah. Ask people that. No, I was just going to comment, but I don't need to if there's more questions.
None so far, so feel free.
I was just going to say, I really appreciated what you said about continuing to develop yourself, because that was one reason why I was excited for us to do this workshop, is because so many times I think first gen students and other students too, but I notice it because I work primarily with first gen students, that, you know, we think that bachelor's is the goal and that's the only thing that's going to help me get a job. And we don't think about the rest of the things that contribute to helping you get a job or get a career. And then once you get that job, then you don't think about the other stuff that you have to do if you want to move up and progress in your career, or, you know, just get paid more or stand out, like whatever. And so I think hearing now, all of you, while you're still in school, like how important it is to build some of these areas that we talked about, like that is going to be so tremendously helpful now and throughout your entire career, because I really think that's what makes you distinguish from others. So I'm really glad that you said that.
Thank you. And this is from personal experience. I feel like I played soccer in college. I really just went to continue going. It took a professor when I was a junior to be like, well, you're actually good in school. What are you going to continue doing? So thinking about that development of yourself, where you want to go, and you're here doing a great thing, getting a bachelor's degree, which I can't remember the statistics, but once you graduate, you're part of a small percentage of the United States that have a higher, like a credential or a degree. But that still, we need to do work to like excel once we move into our professional jobs. Any final questions? And I think dance is very important for getting a job. You have to be able to have fun.
Sorry, Adrian. I had to write that.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yay. Well, thank you so much, Adrian. This was an awesome work.